One. Okay. Welcome more to the Crew Philosopher podcast. I am your host, Jabaya, aka the Crew Philosopher. We are joined again with somebody who I consider to be a friend of mine. He's back for the second time on the podcast. I believe you called yourself Jonathan before.
That's my name, Jonathan.
Yeah, but isn't it pronounced with the Jonathan?
Jonathan in Hebrew.
Yeah,
that's what I've been calling myself since the 90s, the late 90s, Prince Jonathan. So that's my hashtag, and that's my at username for social medias and everything.
Yeah. So we have him back, and I told him I wanted to bring him on the podcast again because I wanted to discuss kind of, and even trying to find the right way to phrase this has been difficult for me, because I want to talk about kind of the rules of masculinity as so saith the Bible, right? Like, that's the best way I can describe what I want to talk about. And just to give you an idea of why I'm approaching it there is because I stumbled on, some conversations. I don't know if you're on Clubhouse or not.
Not yet.
Now, you have an iPhone? You have an iPhone, right?
Yeah, I have an iPhone.
I'll invite you as soon as we finish so you can get on it. Yeah, because the conversations on Clubhouse are incredible. And, there are a lot of conversations pertaining to kind of men being the head of their households and, masculinity and submission. You hear those words a lot, especially among African Americans, in and out of a Christian backdrop. Though there is a difference, I think, that doesn't get taken into account. But you'll hear, people who are religious using that word submission, and you'll hear people who aren't religious using the word submission. But back to my point, I feel like a lot of the rules of masculinity or rules of manhood are actually constraining to men or damaging to men in the year 2021 because of our current circumstances, right? We live in a time now where many women are out earning their male counterparts, are more educated than their male counterparts. We no longer live in a time where a man can leave high school, find a decent job without a diploma, and raise a family off of. Those days are over. But we are still getting judged by these old standards, and I wanted to have this conversation with you because there are parts of the Bible that are kind of instruction from God, and then there are parts of the Bible that are more kind of describing the cultural conditions of the time. And just the easy one is like, you're not supposed to wear clothing with two different
that's that particular scripture has been taken out of place, out of context for the longest. It says that you're not supposed to wear any fabric with woolen and linen. That's it. Just woolen and linen. Yeah. And most people say just two different fabrics, and you got that polyester suit. That's not woolen and linen.
You see, this is why.
Spandex and cotton. That's not woolen and linen. Okay, you're gonna come correct now.
But to your point, though, many of us wear wool and linen, all the time. I say many of us do.
I know. I hear you.
Or I think there's one about
labels
about not eating shellfish. So my point is, portions of the Bible that seem to be, kind of instructions from God, and then portions that are kind of telling you what was happening in the culture of that time period. And I think deciphering the difference or kind of separating the two is very difficult. But then there might just be parts of the Bible that are, rules of manhood from God that I might also think are, maybe not wrong, but maybe the way we're applying it is wrong. So just kind of, I think me and you can have a conversation where we can like dig through the weeds, and I think construct a kind of a healthier I don't know how to describe it, but just rules of manhood that are actually helpful and healthy for men in 2021 through a biblical lens.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I could just touch on for a little bit what you were talking about as far as rules from God and rules from man. There are 613 laws that God gave Moses on Mount Sinai. Most people know they see the Ten Commandment picture during Easter time. I think it's during Easter time, somewhere around there. So most people, when they see him come down with those tablets, they think he came down with 10, the 10 Commandments. But it's 613 law that was included in the 10 Commandments. So there was another 603 that he came down with, and included in that is what you were talking about as far as the mixing the linen and the woolen together. Gotcha. And eating shellfish or crustaceans, or as the Bible specifically says, that only thing that we can eat according to the law is a fish that have fins and scales.
Got you.
So anything else in the ocean that doesn't have fins and scales, we can't eat. So that's that. And then you have, again, other cultural things that that the Bible really doesn't, some things doesn't say much, the Bible doesn't say much about, or the law doesn't say much about, but it's just, of course, the cultural times and, what was going on in that day. So, yes.
Okay, so knowing that, I think one other parameter that we want to set before we have the conversation is the obvious law that tells us to obey the laws of the land, pretty much. That some of this is simply because of the Bible kind of instructs us to obey authority of those that have authority over us. We subscribe to the rules laid out by current society, as long as they don't go against the biblical law, and so that's where I want to spend most of my focus on is the intersection between those two things. So I guess the first thing to ask you is, based on your knowledge of the Bible, if you had to sum up what qualities should a man possess based off of the word, what would those qualities be?
You're talking about man in general, just regular man, right? Just I mean, a male.
Yeah, yes, a regular man.
Well, that's an interesting question, because it doesn't, I don't think you find anything specific that says a man should be this or a man should be that.
Okay.
I think it's pretty much just what you have already, with the precedent that has already been set. The man would go out and work, would, till the ground. When you actually go into the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, and when the curse came upon Adam and Eve, the Lord said that from the sweat of his brow, he's going to have to make his living. Excuse me. So that was, one of the things that man had to do. And then, of course, the opposite, well, not the opposite, but woman, her curse was, she was going to have to give birth, in pain.
Yes.
But so man, basically, his job was to go out and work, go out and of course, today, the difference between back then and today is that you don't have to sweat to work.
That's a big difference. Yes.
A lot of people now, we sit behind computers. Exactly. We sit behind computers. We sit behind the wheel. We sit behind machines. we sit at desk and stuff. So that of course, because we have evolved as people, but somebody is still out there sweating, and of course it's not necessarily just man. But you have people doing what you would have had to do, because back then, and even in some societies and some of the underdeveloped third world countries that we have now that don't have the technological advances that we do, they have to go out and hunt animals.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine if we had to go out and hunt our animals?
No.
I probably would be a vegetarian.
Me too. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Okay. And then for those that have farms, they actually had to go out and kill the animals and dress it. And so when we do see that in scripture as well. Abraham would tell one of his servants to go out and get the fatted calf and dress it. So that means you got to go out in the, among the herd, get a calf, kill it, prepare it, skin it, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
There's a lot of work that's
drain
going on
it.
in there.
And
then cook it, build a fire. Well, we didn't have no matches. It took work to actually get the fire going. So yeah, everything took work.
So that that is maybe not. That was probably one of the most obvious qualities a man should have. A willingness to work. I
don't know if it was a willingness to work. You ain't had no choice but to work. Nowadays we have a choice whether we're going to work, because we'll sit back and let somebody take care of us, or we'll sit back and collect a check doing something. So when you say a willingness to work, no, it ain't. You ain't no choice. At a certain age, it was time to get out in the field and start working.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, work. So, so you would say that I don't know, if you were writing, rules of manhood or rules of being a man. One, establish a work ethic.
Yes, a work ethic.
Yes, establish a work ethic. Now, you brought up a good point, being that we have kind of, for some of us, we have moved from the hard labor of tilling the land and killing the animals, even fishing, which is work, but not nearly as physically exhausting as
not laborious.
Tilling the land, to typing and doing things that is very sedentary. So my question to you is, if a man does have a more sedentary lifestyle, should he pick up a hobby that would require him to put forth more of a work ethic? I guess I'm asking, is there a I don't know, a virtue in working in and of itself?
I wouldn't. I would say no.
Okay.
But I will also say this, that it's a downside to having a very sedentary life and a sedentary job, because number one, you're not moving as much. So therefore you're not getting exercise. Therefore you're going to have health issues. Even, when we look at this COVID, the pandemic that we're still in has caused most of us to become very sedentary.
Yes.
And I know that I can feel it. I can feel it in my legs. And more so, I feel it now in the fall, since the fall time came towards the winter time, because back in the summer, I was going out riding my bicycle. I was active.
Still doing, yes.
Things were opening up here where I live at. I live in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So things were opening up a little bit here and there. So I would just go to the mall just to walk around. I would walk around. I purposely had to do that. And then when winter time came, I'm indoors all the time. And I'm laying down, I'm sitting down. And when I go to get up, it's like, and then, because I do ministry full time, which is not a laborious job at all. It's more of a mental job, but it's not laborious. I play keys, like, on Sunday, I play for church. They're doing Zoom. That's why I got the, stuff set up and stuff. So now, because I'm doing that, I was like, I got to get back to work. I got to get back into something, getting up early in the morning, walking, because just sitting here with everything pretty much closed down, it's not good for me.
Yeah,
it's not good for my body.
I think that's true for most people. Okay, so we have establishing a work ethic as that's one of the rules of manhood. Now, one thing that is brought up a lot in religious circles is head of the household, right? Mm-hmm. The man is the head of the household, right? Now, here's my issue with the head of the household. And now, once again, you have significantly more knowledge of the Bible than I do. But to me, we have attached head of the household. Well, first of all, no one can even tell me anymore what that means, right? Like when you say head of the household, I think if you ask 10 different people what they mean by that, you might get 5 different answers. Because to some people might say that that means the man has to earn more than his wife, right? And then other people might say that head of the household means a man who makes all the decisions, right? Then somebody else might say, so you get various different explanations when you ask them, what do you mean by head of the household? So I guess the first thing would be to ask you, do you think that a man's job today, if he does have a family, is to be the head of the household? And if so, what exactly does that entail? Like, what is the job description of head of the household?
Yes, the man is supposed to be the head of the household. Just like you have the head of the United States, a president, you have to, there has to be a head. There has to be a head. You have the head CEO, of a company, the principal in the school. There's always a head. There's the leader. There's the final one. That, not to say that other people don't have a say or don't have an opinion or an idea, but the head of the household. When you look in Bible times, specifically in the Old Testament, because that's where you see it more, you have patriarchs. I'll use Abraham as an example because Abraham is the father of our faith. He is also the father of the Muslim faith because, Ishmael came from Abraham through Hagar. And the Jews, or the Hebrews, well, Abraham was a Hebrew, so I don't like to say that because technically Muslims would be Hebrews as well.
Okay.
But for the Jews, you have Isaac, who had Jacob, and Jacob became Israel. His name was changed to Israel. He had 12 sons, one daughter that was mentioned in the scripture. He may have had others, but they weren't mentioned. But he had 12 sons by 4 different women. Two were his wives. The other 2 were his concubines, or the handmaidens, the servants of his wives, that they couldn't bear no children anymore. Well, Leah couldn't bear any children anymore because she had already had 4, and Rachel, she didn't have any. So she gave Jacob her handmaid to have children for her. So he had 12 sons, but he had 4 wives. A woman can't have multiple husbands. I don't know if we talked about this before, but I know I've talked about this recently, and a couple.
We didn't talk about this.
Okay, but a woman, I think it was a woman can't have multiple husbands at one time. A man can have multiple wives at one time, and this is something that's really not debatable. It's just fact. Okay, that a man can have 12 different wives and 12 different children at the same time.
Yeah.
A woman can only have
one at a time,
one child at a time, or twins.
Yes.
and having to, or triplets,
yes,
or quadruplets,
Yeah.
but you get the
Yeah.
idea. She only have one pregnancy at a time.
Yes.
Okay. And if she has multiple husbands, then who is to determine who the father of that child is?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense for a woman to have more than one husband. Okay. But a man usually has more than one wife because he's building his village, he's building his family, and usually the woman left her parents' home and joined to her husband, and he established himself. That's how the whole nation of Israel became established, was from one man. Okay. I don't know of any society that was established by one woman, because a woman cannot have multiple children. She can only have one at a time, and that's only for a set time. After a while, she's going to stop bearing children, but that man can be in his 80s and whatnot and still be having children. Okay. So what the Bible does say in the New Testament, and it confirms what in the Old Testament, because now this is, again, if you believe the Bible, we have to say that if you don't believe the Bible, then anything else, it's just don't argue with me. You don't believe the Bible, then you don't believe the Bible, then you don't believe anything I'm saying. But if you believe the Bible, okay, then this is what is being said. Again, it's faith. You believe it by faith. So if you if you believe that God created Adam, right? He created Adam first. It was a male. And then he put Adam to sleep and took a rib out of Adam and created Eve. So a female came out of a man. Okay. And a female is simply a man with a womb. All right. Okay. Yeah. So is this a man with a womb? Now, what the scripture says when it talks about marriage and tells a man to love his wife, right? It says that the woman is the weaker vessel. Okay. It says the woman is the weaker vessel. Now, some women may get mad at me. I ain't no weak. Again, we're not talking about, mentally and all that stuff and that a woman can't, be strong, because I'm sure there are some wives that are stronger than their husbands. But generally speaking, men are stronger, men are faster. Yes. Now I just heard, and I really don't even want to get into this, but I just heard that President Biden signed
all the transgender
opening up high schools. Mandating rather that high schools would allow people to serve, the children to serve in the gender that they identify in.
Yes,
that's unfair.
I agree,
because no matter what you identify as, biologically you are going to be whatever you are born as. So if you are born as a male, biologically you're going to be stronger than the females. That's why when you ever look at the Olympics and you look at the records and the men's sports, they're always faster, they're always quicker. Well, quicker is faster. They're always stronger. All right. So it's not fair. It's an unfair advantage. And I wish I could, I'm not a politician, but it gets me stirred up, because to me it's stupidity. Because they identify as that. And if I had a girl in school, I would be on the front line fighting.
I said the same thing to somebody that the podcast me and Shannon had. And I told Shannon, I said, to me, this is very unfair to female athletes, biologically born female athletes, because there are these biological differences. And you could have a case where, 10, 20 years from now, where a certain segment of women aren't getting the scholarships that they would have gotten 10, 20 years ago, because they can't outcompete, these transgender women.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So they're considered the weaker vessel. And men, again, are supposed to protect, because they're the stronger vessel. Because men are the stronger vessel. So they're supposed to protect the weaker vessel. And so that's what the Bible is saying. So as the head of the house, it is your job to, again, make decisions. You're going to consult. Of course, you consult with your spouse or your spouses And then ultimately, it's supposed to be your decision. Of course, society has changed through the centuries, and now, things are a lot different. And women
So
are
we
going to
have
argue there.
so we have the work ethic, and we have the head of the household, and the charge of that position being that it is your responsibility to look out for the well-being of your counterpart and your children.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: is because finances really in the capitalist society, I mean, finances kind of determine so much. So in a world now where women are in the same workforce as us, it's not how it was before when women weren't allowed to work. Women are allowed to work now. Women in many ways are outpacing their male counterparts in education, school, and jobs, employment. So it, does it? So can a man be the head of a household when his wife out earns him? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You must press something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, a man can be the head of the household when the woman out earns him.
Okay, how?
Because that doesn't determine, you know, who the head of the household. This is what I've been told. I'm not a woman, so I don't know. But I've been told by some women, a woman wants a man to be the head.
I've
A
heard that too.
woman wants to feel protected by a man. Um, when some couples, not all, some couples when they get together, it doesn't matter what the man makes, what the woman makes. They put the money together in one pot and help to build that house. Just so happens maybe she has a job that's better. She got a raise. It doesn't, and then some men will feel emasculated because of that. They feel like they're not a man because the woman is out. Listen, I'm welcoming any woman to make more money than me. If you want to make more money than me, come on. As long as you let me be who I am,
Yeah.
you can make more money. I'm not going to take you.
So let me just to introduce kind of a pushback, because so a couple of things seem to be coming up. One, I think maybe when it comes to the head of the household discussion, a big part of it would have to be you have to have, especially if you're a man of faith, that you kind of have to make sure that you're equally yoked. Meaning, this only works if your counterpart is someone who believes that a man's position is to be the head of the household. If you're with a woman who doesn't believe that, then you're gonna have problems all over the place. But just to touch the money portion, I don't think men feel emasculated just because their wife makes more money than them. It's because the money is a representation of power, and power makes people assholes. Like, for example, if me and my wife are discussing something, right? She makes more money than I do, and we're discussing something to buy, maybe a car. She wants to buy the car. I tell her I don't think it's a good time, and she just says, "Well, I can afford it, so I'm going to buy it." That right there is a clear example of how he's probably not upset that she has the money to afford it. He made a decision based off of whatever plan they had. She, because she has the money, is going to buy this car. That is a signal of the power difference. Because once again, in a capitalist society, money means everything. Money means the more money you have, you can move to places that you can't move. If you don't have money, it gives you access to certain rooms, and so that will always be on his mind or on the back of his mind. That, you know what, this position is like, I'm kind of a paper tiger. It's she'll respect me if she agrees. If not, she's going to override me. This is why I believe, generally speaking, I don't think any person really, but men, I don't think men should be with women who make an exorbitant amount of money over you, right? So if she makes like an extra $5,000 a year, cool. I don't think men should be getting into relationships with, they're making 60,000 and their wives are making 100,000. That's what I think. So you tell me why I'm wrong.
It depends on the woman and the man.
Okay.
It depends. If she really respects him, and if she really respects her husband, if she really has value in who she married, then it really wouldn't matter how much money she made. She's gonna respect her husband. The problem again is society. Again, we go back to society. It's all the blame, but it's the day that we live in. What happens? What we see is what we say. Oh, I see it. I could do it too. They set the trend. We've never seen this before, but now somebody did it, and it's been broadcast on TV and on the news, on the internet. And I had an option. I didn't know I had an option. Well, let me do that too. He don't want to act right, whatever. So yeah, it depends on the kind of woman she is. If she's gonna allow money to run the relationship, or if they allow money to run the relationship, then that's what's gonna happen. But if she respects him as a man, if she sees that he's a provider, that he's done what he's done his responsibilities, he's met his responsibilities, he's protected me and my children, and the house, he took care of what he was supposed to, then I'm going to respect him in his decisions, even though I make more money.
Okay. So I think it kind of goes back into just making sure that you and your partner are equally yoked.
Yes.
Okay. So one other point, because this might be where my main contention lies, which is, see, I think men are being crushed underneath, old definitions of masculinity, right? So I feel that way, yet as we talk, I don't technically disagree with anything you've said so far. And so am I missing something? Because I do think, when the feminist movement happened, and there were, 3 waves of feminism, first wave, second wave, especially those first 2 waves, I feel like, first they dealt with the law, which I think was the moral thing. Women should have the legal right to do the things that we can do. And then the second wave was kind of like cultural. And I think men kind of need like a cultural movement because we're stuck in these boxes, and as the workplace fluctuates with jobs, right? The days are over where you can feel like you are guaranteed a job, so to speak. And even if you go to college, most people are working jobs that have nothing to do with their college diploma. And those people that graduate. That doesn't include people who stop going to school, drop out. And my thing is, men are carrying around the anchors. That's how I view it. The anchors of what I have to, I have to, work or like slave away. I don't know any of my grandfathers because they was both dead by the time I was, born. I have no recollection of who they are. I don't know what they look like. I don't know what their beliefs were. If they do, I've never seen any of them. Like,
oh my goodness,
right? They almost don't exist to me. And I believe part of the reason why they're not here is because they work themselves to death, or being held to these standards of masculinity. And you don't meet them, then you start to drink, then you start to get involved into drugs. And I think men are being crushed by standards, yet you haven't said anything that I disagree with. And so I'm at an impasse where I don't know what it is that I'm feeling that is restrictive to men. But do you see anything that's wrong in the landscape, or am I crazy?
Well, the absence of our fathers, in whether it be whether they were jailed, whether they left, whether they the mothers left, because my father didn't leave. My mother left my father, which is kind of the opposite of what happens. Usually, you know, the man disappears.
Yeah.
My mother, she didn't disappear, but she left. Or whether the father's been killed. And then when that happens, when there is no father, when there is no male figure in the house, then who's to teach the next generation? That, I think, is one of our main problems. You know, that with those that grew up without a father. Now your situation is different because you say you didn't have a grandfather, but I know you have your father. You talk about him, you know. But those that grew up, so there's a lot of males that grew up without a father and don't know what it means to be a man. There's nobody to tell him how to be a man. And as much as a woman wants to, she can tell him, but she cannot show him because she's not a man. That is one of the things that irks my everlasting nerve on Father's Day, is when women want to get a shout out for Father's Day too, because I'm the mother and the father. No, you are only the mother. You cannot be a father. Okay? You cannot be a father. Maybe you need to get more on your Mother's Day, but let the men have their day. Father's Day, father, man, male day. You're a female. Okay? You're not a man. So I think that is one of our problems, is that we have a lot of people, and I don't want to say generation, because it's not just a generation, it's generations that grew up without fathers.
But see, that though is, at least from my perspective, a different point. Because see, what you're talking about is you get certain things from your father as far as when it comes to discipline, respect, teaching you certain skills, both life skills and skills maybe that pertain to labor. So I get that point. My argument is that I think the things that men used to aspire to are no longer helpful in helping a man today live a fulfilling life, right? So when we think of men, we think of them kind of as extensions of other people, right? So, you want a man to be a good father, right? That's only viewing him as he's only useful to guide children. I want him to be a good husband. He's useful as a partner to a woman. I want him to be, in other times in history, strong so that he can fight on behalf of the country. So he's useful as a tool for war. Like we don't seem to have a way to define man and manhood just for them. Like why is it always just to make us good for other people or other things? What does being a man mean just for me?
What does it mean? It is what it is. I don't know. I don't think I know how to answer that question.
I'm probably not even phrasing it the right way. It's more like built up frustration than thought out point.
Yeah, what does it mean to be a man? It's just it's all I ever am. It's all I've ever been. I don't really know. I don't think I understand where you're trying to ask.
Yeah, so here's maybe a better maybe I could flesh it out this way. Women can be anything in 2021, right? If a woman wants to work, she can work.
So can men.
No. Look,
okay, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Be honest. How do most people look at a man who's a house husband? I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm not saying you or me. I'm just saying society.
Yes, society would like, oh, she's the boss, whatever. She wears the pants now. Yeah.
So women have a flexibility. By the way, it even stems down to clothes. I'm not saying I want that to go our way as well. I'm just saying that women can wear male clothes all the time. They can wear female clothes. They can work, or they can just be moms or stay-at-home moms. They can they can aspire to be CEOs, or they can aspire to just be I want to just have a little part-time
Housewives.
job for myself, right? Even down to the fact that you know, a man's money is considered our money versus her money is her money. Like so they can be many different things.
They have more options.
And I feel like we don't. And I think it's crushing us because those old avenues, we don't have access to those anymore. Like,
but some of those things you shouldn't want to do.
No, I'm with you. But then like you can't just have less options and not create new ones, because then you're kind of just left with even more of a constraint on you. You see what I'm saying?
I think that when you do what you were created to do, then you should be satisfied. I think you should be satisfied. I don't think you should want to be have more options. Want to wear women's clothes. I want to wear my clothes, but also want to wear my women's clothes.
As an example,
because I understand what you're saying, because she'll a woman will put on her husband's tee and his boxers. If a man does that, puts on her panties and a bra, then he's a cross dresser. Okay, but technically she's cross-dressing if she's wearing his clothes.
Yeah, to me, I just want men to because just some of these standards, like for example, I think you tell me, because I think men should be taught that it is fine for them to be by themselves, right? Like, you don't have to get married. You don't have to have children. Matter of fact, most of you probably shouldn't, because you wouldn't be that great of a father.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the truth. Amen. Amen, preacher. I need to put this keyboard on and back you up in the organ.
I'm just saying, like, I think men need to hear those messages, even when it comes to dating. That we live in 2021, the year of the modern woman. Yet when it comes to dating expectations or kind of the courting process, then suddenly we go back to 1958. Why? We live in a society where women make more women in my age group make more money than their male counterparts, yet the expectation is, yeah, you pay for everything. Yeah, you and that pressure, because here's the thing, in order to pay for everything in a world where once again, men and women compete against each other in the workforce. That wasn't the case back in the day.
But that's changing. That's changing a lot.
What do you mean?
That women are wanting to do that, and people are becoming a little more accepting. It's soon is going to be the norm. I mean, even like when we see video clips and of women proposing to men, right? Yeah. Our attitude, trust me, our attitude about that in a few years is going to change. It may not, when I say a few, I'm not talking about 3 or 4 years.
Like 10, 20.
But it's gonna change the same way that a lot of other things have become so accepted in society. I remember, and I don't know if you were alive, you may have been, when Ellen first came out as gay on television.
No, I was alive, but I was probably so small that
that was a
big deal.
Big issue. That was a big issue. And it drew a lot of dialogue, but because that happened, now it's normal for you to have shows about gay couples. Will and Grace.
They're everywhere.
Modern Family. The two people are married, I think it is, on Modern Family.
Gotta watch that show.
Two men.
Yeah,
I don't watch it either, but I think the two men in that show are married.
It's just everywhere.
Yeah. So, but it's now is the point. Now it's we don't when a show comes out like that, we don't hear any controversy about it, because that happened years ago. It may have been, over 20 years ago, because it was I think it was in the 90s. Soon, because of social media, we're gonna have a lot of women proposing to men because they're tired of being single, and they're waiting for the man, and he's not doing it. And so women are doing it now, and we're calling them dumb now. Let's just
I don't call them dumb.
When I say we, I'm not talking about you.
I know.
I'm not talking about you and me. I'm talking about, the general population, society. Yeah. Oh, what? She's a fool. She was down there proposing to him or whatever. But soon that's going to flip. You know, and
Yeah.
and it'll become norm.
See, I just think that we live in a world now where the only way families are going to make it is to kind of embrace a spirit of interdependence, right? I mean, I think the average salary in America is like what, $50,000 or 60,000, something crazy like that. It's crazy low. Uh, and so yes, a lot of women are going to be making close to or slightly more than a man that they find. And so what are you going to do? Put the entire burden of providing on him just cause, even though he's only making a couple of more dollars than you make? To me, that doesn't make sense given the current reality where we live. And that's why I want to have this conversation, because I understand biblically there's like a charge of he should be the head of his household. He should be the provider. But in current times, if she's making more than me, I mean, how am I already providing? I'm not. I'm.
Yeah, I certainly understand that train of thought, because it's been said that I don't remember what the exact quote is, but whoever makes the money is the one that makes the decisions.
Yeah.
That's why when certain things are happening, amongst my friends or my family, and they're trying to, like when my time for my grandmother to be buried, for us to funeralize her, I had suggestions, and I said, well, you know what? Hey, I ain't paying for it, so y'all do whatever y'all want to do. I'm just suggesting this, but now if I was paying for it, it went a whole other way.
See what I'm saying? And that dynamic exists within relationships, within the way men and women engage with each other. And I feel like men are kind of in this box where like I'll take me for example. I have no aspiration of being a sole provider for anybody. If you're an adult, you paying for something. I'm not nobody's meal ticket to some lifestyle. No, if you're a grown person and we inhabit the same space where rent is being paid, yeah, you're gonna pay your half, and I mean half of the rent. I don't mean I pay rent and you pay utilities. We go half and half. That's how I look at things. I refuse to get crushed under these standards.
I think what would be something good to do is what I heard you and Shannon do: put up a poll. No, and the reason why I say that is because you're 26 or something like that. What are you?
27.
27. I'm 44, and I'm the opposite of that. I want to pay the bill.
Okay, but why?
Because I'm the man. Because I was engaged over 10 years ago, about 12, back in 2007.
Okay.
And I didn't have a car. But my fiance had a car. She lived in Philadelphia, and she had a car. I don't know if she made more money than me or if I made more money than her, but I know I had more responsibility because I was, she lived with her parents. I lived by myself, and I paid, my rent. But while we were engaged, I got her an Easy Pass so that whenever she would come up to New York, she wouldn't have to pay any tolls.
Okay.
And whenever she came up to New York, I always paid all the gas. I paid for all the gas in our car. Anytime we went out to eat, I paid for the bill. And we were engaged for almost a year. And I paid for everything.
That sounds insane to me.
I refuse. She would want to, and I'd be like, nope. I'm paying. And one time, I think I did let her pay. It was for my birthday. I think it was my birthday. We were in Philadelphia, and she wanted to take me to this restaurant called Longhorns. And
Steakhouse?
I had never been.
What's amazing? Yeah, I love Longhorn.
And so we went there, and she, I told her, I said, I'm paying the bill. It's like, no, I'm treating you. I'm doing this. You're doing it all the time. And she wound up telling the waiter or the waitress, I don't remember who it was, that he pays all the time. Shouldn't he let me pay sometime, whatever? Mm-hmm. And I think I may have let her pay at that time. but I paid because that's I'm a Generation X, so I'm a different, generation. I'm the man. This is what I'm making the decisions. This is what's going to happen. But I wanted to do that. It wasn't really anything forced on me. I wanted her to be able to say, my man treats me right. He does all this for me. And I wanted that. I didn't want to, oh, you paying for that? Are you paying for that? No, I wanted that glory.
That's an interesting word you use, glory.
Yes, I wanted that glory. And even now, even though we're friends now,
yeah.
but we did, I called off the engagement. She didn't have anything bad to say about me, and whenever she says yes, oh, he was very good to me. He was very good to me. He paid for everything. He was very good for me. He even paid gas, easy pass, everything. I still got the glory, even though we didn't get engaged. I mean, we didn't get married.
So maybe this is a generational thing because everything you said, I reject it.
That's what you don't want. You don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't think I'm alone. I think this is a growing thing amongst young men because
I think we need to take a poll.
Yeah, I think the times have changed, and so like why is me paying for everything like some positive thing for us when it's only affected me? Like you make money too. You should be paying for stuff too.
But here's this. By me paying for this, by me doing that, there's a benefit to reap later on.
I understand that. But once again,
okay. You treat her right. Okay. And she's gonna reward you later.
but that even falls into another complaint I have where look, man, I don't think that is an equal exchange of resources. I just don't. I think income, I can use.
You don't think, say it, make it plain. You don't think sex is an equal exchange?
For money, no.
Do you know that men are the ones that are boosting the porn industry? Men
Absolutely.
are the ones out there paying for prostitutes. You don't have as many male prostitutes as you have female prostitutes.
Absolutely not.
So therefore, it is something of great value to us.
It is of great value. My point is, it shouldn't be. Nor, and here's the thing.
Why shouldn't it be?
Because you can do more things with money than you can do with her body. A woman's body is only useful, for you individually for a certain amount of time. Money has value in America. Anywhere you go, you can use it for multiple things. It is not an equal exchange, number one. Number two, it's something that we both enjoy. So this thing where you feel like you are, quote unquote, giving me something, I'm not buying that either. I think that is no. I think that once again, if men are to escape from being crushed by the standards of masculinity, it is going to require for us as a society to allow them to exist in different forms. And so for me, I want to make it normal where a date, you and this girl go out and you split the bill and no one really thinks about it. It's just, you know what? If we split the bill, we can do more things because the expenses is not solely on one person. So you can do more stuff, go to better places if it was culturally acceptable for two people to split the bill. If I go with my friends, we split the bill and we could do more stuff because we split the bill. I think that should be the standard. I think it should be normalized for men to be sole caregivers if that's what they want to do. I think some men could be very, very nurturing. I think a lot of those women who want families but are super career driven, it would benefit them to have men who are, comfortable being at home if that can ever become a thing. My main point is men are killing themselves in 2021 trying to be men from the 1950s. That's my main point. And I don't think so far when we hashed over that a man should have a work ethic, which me and you both agree on, when we went over a man being the head of the household, I agree with you as long as he chooses a partner who wants a man to be the head of the household. I don't see any part of the Bible that I'm speaking against by suggesting men open up modernizing themselves.
Yeah,
I can't find a scripture that goes against.
There's none. I mean, you just have the basics in there, but of course, there's room for change and growth along as society has grown, and as the things have changed. As long as the principles, are the same, I think that still the man again is, the head. He's what the Bible calls her again the weaker vessel.
Mm.
So, as as long as that is maintained, if you want to do Dutch, then of course you can have more things if you put your incomes together and split things down the side. Of course you can have a better house. Can you imagine? I'm living here in Connecticut. I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. I've got a nice pool in my complex, a gym. I've got
okay.
I got that's it. And the crazy thing is, when I moved up here, it was me and my cousin, and we were splitting the rent in half. Right, at a 2-bedroom, two full bathrooms. That way, he had his own bathroom, and I had my own bathroom. Because ain't nothing worse than coming home and having to use a bathroom and somebody's in there. Okay, I said the only way this is going to work is we have 2 bathrooms. It could have been a half bathroom, but it had to be
2 toilets.
2 toilets. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was paying the same amount of rent that I was paying in New York, in the Bronx. Splitting it in half.
Yeah.
But that was 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and it was, much bigger. But now I'm in a 1-bedroom. So I'm paying just a little bit more, but comparable to the rent that I would be paying in the Bronx, I'm paying the same amount of rent.
But more stuff.
The pool, the grills out in our courtyard, parking, a gym. Because I was paying for parking in the Bronx, but here it comes with, you get a parking with your apartment. Anyhow, so if I had another person to help foot the bill, I would be able to have a nicer place. I would be able to have a nicer car. If we had the same car. Now, if we had 2 different cars,
you'd probably the same. Yeah,
that's a little different. But so yes, put that together. Yes, you can do it. But again, things have changed. Society have changed. Of course, this is not the 1950s anymore. Back in the 1950s, it was socially acceptable for a woman to stay home. It was economically easier for a woman to stay home and take care of her children. And
you can't do that now.
House, huh?
I don't know anyone personally, whose partner, even if they're not married, they're living together, where she ain't working, because it is economically impossible. You need 2 incomes now to live.
There are a few, people. Of
course,
some
people who balling.
My son, his grandmother, she stayed home. They lived in Harlem. She stayed home until her youngest child got into school. She stayed home until her youngest, and they're not like rich people or very wealthy people either, but it worked for them. And she stayed home until her youngest son got into school, and then when he started school, then she went to work. So she has 3 children. So for those had it been about maybe 10 years, she didn't work, but it worked for them. But she's been working, and I think if I'm not mistaken, she wound up getting a job in the school.
Oh,
so well, no, I know she got a job in the school, but I think it was the school that he was going to, that her youngest son was going to.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure, but she wound up getting a job in the school, and she's still there to this day, and he's about to be 30 years old.
Nice.
So yeah. So but you can do much more when you have the 2 income. But again, this is not the 1950s. We didn't want to trust people back in the well, no, we trusted people more back in the 1950s,
Oh,
even
absolutely.
to babysit. Now things are a little like iffy.
Yeah.
Am I going to put my child in daycare at 6 months old, or 3 months old because I got to go back to work and whatever, or do I need to spend that quality time at home with my children? I personally think that a mother needs to spend those first formative years at home with her children.
Mm.
I think it has an impact on children. So therefore, because a mother is naturally a nurturer, that's something that comes naturally to women. She's naturally a nurturer. Not to say that men aren't or that men can't be, but more so women have more patience with children. I know I didn't have the patience, with my son. I told my son's mom, I said, I'll buy all the diapers. You won't have to buy a diaper as long as I don't have to change them. And I would go out and buy diapers, and all she had to do was say she need more diapers. I would go in my room and take out a pack of diapers and take it over to her. And I have changed. Not to say I didn't change any. I did change a few diapers.
Yeah, but definitely
not as many as she did. Because especially if it was number 2, definitely I didn't want to change it. But I made the trade-off. I'll buy all the diapers. She ain't never had to. I think one time she had to buy. One time in all the years that she had to buy a diaper. I think they were away. On a trip, and she didn't have enough diapers. But I bought all the diapers because I didn't want to do that. But naturally, a woman is just, oh, he's dirty, he's wet, I need to change him. So, yes.
Yeah. Look, my main point was just, I don't think there was. Look, we have to, I think, make a shift as men. Now, the shift I want to make is not to the same degree you want to make, but I think even you have kind of, vocalized that that as long as certain parameters are met, that it is helpful for men today to also, if need be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word fluid, but more I don't know, fluid with what they deem their
more flexible.
Flexible. Thank you, flexible. Mm-hmm. To be more flexible with how they view masculinity, because if not, I truly do think this: men are going to, kill themselves. You look at the rate of male suicide. You look at, the health issues that men have, levels of depression. I think a lot of that stuff comes from us holding ourselves to 1950s masculinity when most of that stuff is gone. You have to kind of adapt to the modern world. I think it requires men being open to that change. I also think it requires women to be open to that change, but also men being strong enough to not allow women to mold us into this 1950s guy that they want as they be 2021 a woman.
But then if I hear what you're saying, if women are trying to mold us into a 1950 guy, that means there's something about the 1950 guy that they are attracted to, that they want, that they may have an innate desire for. Now here's something that's very interesting. I know nothing about cars. All I know is I know how to put gas in it. I know how to take it to get the oil changed. I know how to add more oil if it needs oil. I can do very minor stuff, but most stuff I do not know anything about cars. My son's mom told me, you need to learn how to do some stuff because, and something will go wrong with my car. She would say, well, maybe it's so-and-so. And it would kind of really like burn me that she would probably know what the problem was and I didn't. But because her father, kind of taught her, about different things about cars and whatever. So what happens when you look at the 1950 man compared to the 2020 man or 2021 man. The 1950 man was also a fix-it man.
Yes.
Okay. If anything was wrong,
He can
call
fix it.
him. He's gonna fix if in the house, if he needs this done, if something wrong with the toilet, something wrong with the plumbing, even if they own their property, he was out there mowing the lawn. He was doing, fixing the leak in the roof, whatever. It was a fix-it man. Today now, these
Call him
men
man.
don't know nothing. Okay.
Call him man.
Yes, exactly. Don't know nothing. And I'm which is crazy because I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't need to learn that not when I can call somebody and come fix it. Okay. I know how to change a tire, but I'd rather call AAA to do it. Okay. But if that's what women are looking at and thinking is sexy, then why shouldn't we aspire? And of course, you don't agree.
Because
why should we not aspire? And I think it's also the opposite. If I think something is sexy about a woman, then I think you should.
Here's the problem, though.
To do that.
The problem is the things that we find attractive about women. We can try to pretend like we care about how smart they are and stuff. It's how they look, and women.
Amen.
I'm just saying though, women are always going to be attractive. For them, though,
if they do what they need to do to be attractive.
I'm just saying that's not going to change for us. For them, it's about what they perceive to be power. Do you exert dominance? Do you exert power? But my thing is, who cares if it's killing you? If they want the 1950 guy and it's killing me.
Was it killing the 1950s guy?
No, but don't you think society was set up for it not to kill him? And by the way, I still contend that most of those dudes were miserable. By the way, I contend the levels of smoking going on. We have this rose-colored glass view of the 1950s, like it wasn't dudes slapping their wives in the face and sleep with the secretary, which happened a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a lot more other issues as well too.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I think
still going on now.
Who and who know I'm just put a button on this because I don't want to ramble. My only point is I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying that men should not want to do things that women like. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is our health matters. We're not just tools for women or tools for society or tools for, we have our own feelings, our own thoughts, our own aspirations. And I just feel like a lot of times when we talk about men, we talk about making men good fathers for children, making men good husbands for wives. But our lives matter. Our lives matter.
When you say our health matters, are you talking about our mental health? Our physical health?
Both.
Mm-hmm.
You should be physically healthy and you should be mentally healthy. And my thing is,
but I think in relations to what you're talking about, I think it would really only be specific to mental health, because yes, our lives matter and our health matters, but that's something that we need to take responsibility for. I don't think that us being or working has anything to do with our physical health.
No, but when you're the sole, for example, depending on what you're doing for work, if you're the sole provider, you can work yourself to death. You can literally work yourself into an early grave because you have to bring home X amount of money, instead of having a model in society where it is not only culturally acceptable, but culturally encouraged for both people to work. And so if you can work less hours, yeah, it'll help keep you alive. The bills are still paid because she's working.
There's a saying that says work smarter, not harder.
And to me, working smarter is putting her ass to work.
Or, getting a different kind of job that's not as stressful on your body or even on your mind, because mental health is very detrimental as well when it's not good.
Yeah, of course I agree with you. And like I said, I'm not going to ramble. This was a pretty interesting discussion. I didn't move you that much. You moved me slightly. You moved me slightly. Uh, with the work ethic being important, and also that being the head of your household doesn't necessarily have to be tied to finances or certain things.
And you don't get moved much when I listen to your podcast.
I know my mind's usually made up.
You don't get moved much. I know that for sure.
So, but I do think that overall, people who listen to this or watch this, it will be healthy because I do think both of us might have raised some valid points. And if I could just get dudes to just think, that's a win for me. You could think about what I said and just be like, nah, I reject his philosophy. But just I want men to have to have kind of just the option to think another way, or to think that it's okay if I want to live another way. And then I want men to also subscribe to your belief and say, you know what, nah, I want to embrace being the head of my household, or I want to embrace being the primary breadwinner. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, the times are changing. Times are changing, and with times changing, people change, and dynamics change. Our households change. The rent goes up. We got to make other decisions. There was a time when we had multiple families in one house. Now, unfortunately, everybody's trying to do it by themselves and stuff, and we kind of maybe need to get back to that.
I've been saying for a while that having extended families living underneath the same roof, you can have a bigger house, more space. You can actually have more space if you linked up with your family, your extended family, than you do when you split yourself into these small units, and now you live in some small 1-bedroom, or in some cases studio apartment.
Yeah, certainly so. And that money can stretch a little further. And you also have depending on the dynamics of that family, you also have people that are there to help take care and to raise the children, instead of supposed to send them to daycare and stuff, and with babysitters and things. But yeah, things are changing, and I'm all with the change as long as the change doesn't change me.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. So this was a good one. I want to thank you once again. Jonathan, it's always dope when I get to chop it up with you, as usual. This would definitely not be the last one. I feel like there's so much. One idea I had is I wanted to talk to you about. I already wrote it down. I said one day I want to talk to Jonathan about the story of Samson and Delilah. Was it lust or love?
Lust. That was just plain stupidity, if you ask me. But again, and I'll save it for that. Because when that blood starts flowing, you don't think right.
I hear you.
That's how many of us get in trouble, because the blood is flowing in the wrong area, and we losing is the blood is going south instead of staying north.
Yeah,
and we're not able to think.
But as usual, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Deuces.